Hi there, and welcome to Naturally Recovering Autism. I am your host, Karen Thomas, and I want to thank you so much for being here and being a proactive parent and getting the resources that you need to let your child live their most fulfilling and independent life possible. When my own son was diagnosed with autism, I was told to drug him and try behavioral therapies, and there was nothing else that we could do for him but manage his symptoms the rest of his life. But I didn't want to do that. Fortunately, my background in craniosacral therapy of now 30 years let me know that the brain can and does heal, but I didn't know that much about autism. What I did know is that I didn't want to just mask the symptoms with dangerous drugs. I wanted to find the causes and work with them naturally. And fast forward, it took me a decade and a lot of time and effort, but today my son is no longer diagnosable with autism after being told it could not happen. So I'm here to share with you valuable resources to save you the time and some of the expense that I had to spend to figure it out, and to help you let your child lead to their best results possible. Every child's level of recovery is different, but we know that children who couldn't sleep through the night are sleeping now through the night and happily. Their immune systems are now strong where they were once sick all the time. Children who were nonverbal and their parents were told they could never speak are now speaking. Children who were getting D's and F's in school are getting A's and B's, and those that were so anxious all the time and couldn't sit still and were uncomfortable in their own bodies are now calm and happy and relaxed, and they're leading fulfilling and independent lives with friends. This is what we want for our kids. So I'm here to share the resources with you so that you can get the best results for your child, the best possible. And you can start that right now with my free download of the top 7 foods to eliminate beginning today, of the top foods that are the most inflammatory and toxic that are contributing to those physical and behavioral symptoms of autism that your child is having. They're making his life uncomfortable. So you can get that right now at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/7 foods. And feel free to share that with anybody you know who would be interested. And I will also link to it in today's show notes. There's of course a lot more than diet, but this is something you could start doing today that will begin to reduce those symptoms. And I'm happy to share everything I can with you. So right now, let's dive into today's episode. Today we're going to be talking about something called pica in children with autism, touching on its link to PANS, nutritional deficiencies, emotional factors, and other gut health issues that come into it. So pica is a complex and often misunderstood condition that can be particularly concerning when observed in children with autism. It involves the persistent eating of non-food items such as dirt or paper, chalk, hair, or even small objects like coins and toys. And while pica can occur in children of all backgrounds, it's significantly more common in individuals with autism. And understanding the why behind this behavior is crucial for parents, caregivers, and professionals who really want to be able to give appropriate support and to stop it. So what is pica? So pica is defined by the DSM-5, Diagnostic Statistical Manual, as the repeated ingestion of non-nutritive substances over a period of at least 1 month and at an age where this behavior is developmentally inappropriate, i.e. meaning they're older than the toddler of age 2 that might be just putting things in their mouth like a toddler would do. So in children with autism, pica can be often persistent beyond toddler years, and it can require, clinical attention due to a lot of the risks involved, including choking, intestinal blockages when they swallow large objects, poisoning, and even exposure to harmful bacteria. So why is pica more common in children with autism? There are multiple factors that can contribute to pica behaviors in children with autism, including sensory processing differences, emotional regulation difficulties, nutritional deficiencies, and underlying medical conditions. So here are some key contributors. Nutritional and mineral deficiencies. One of the most common underlying causes of pica is a deficiency in essential nutrients and minerals. When the body lacks certain elements, it may instinctively seek out non-food items that contain trace amounts of what is missing. So in children with autism, this is especially relevant due to dietary restrictions, picky eating, or really poor absorption of nutrients, even if they may be eating food that is healthy. And this is caused by a lot of the gut issues, which we'll talk about here as well. So common deficiencies linked to pica include iron, which is very, very common in pica, low iron levels, and anemia. They have a strong correlation with pica. Increasing heme foods, which are rich in iron, are suggested for sure. And that is much better than supplementing with iron, because iron supplements can actually aggravate viral activity. So food-based supplements and food are a much safer way to increase iron naturally. Zinc is important for taste, smell, and immune function. And sometimes if we're deficient in zinc, then it can cause children with autism to want to, again, have that nutritional deficiency, to just have any non-food items put in their mouth. They're seeking that nutrition. They don't know that they're not eating the right things. Magnesium is another one, and this is needed for neurological and muscular function. So that's another very, very commonly deficient mineral in children with autism. And calcium, which can influence cravings for chalk and dirt in particular. Vitamin D and B12 deficiencies can affect mood, energy, and neurological health. And just a little side note here that vitamin D3, the most bioabsorbable type of vitamin D, is important for fighting viruses, and especially in the wintertime, it is your best friend for flu fighting. So vitamin D is very, very commonly needed, and most of us are deficient in it, and that can be another cause of a deficiency in a child with autism, going with pica. Children with autism may be more susceptible to these deficiencies due to selective eating, again, back to picky eating, inflammation, which is really common in the gut especially, and gut dysbiosis. Also, we look at emotional and sensory reasons. So pica can also be a self-soothing or sensory-seeking behavior. Children with autism may have heightened or lowered sensory sensitivities and actually be seeking textures and smells, or even the act of chewing and swallowing non-food items to calm and stimulate them. Other emotional and psychological factors that can drive pica can include stress and anxiety. Non-food chewing, again, may become a coping mechanism. Communication challenges, the inability to express discomfort or emotional needs might manifest in pica. Notice if your child has had any new stressors in their life, or I always say, of course, new toxic exposures. Maybe they've had mold exposure in a building that you weren't aware of. Another one is obsessive compulsive tendencies. So some children may develop ritualistic eating of non-foods. And this is really, really common, and we'll talk about PANS in a moment. But PANS is an acronym for Pediatric Autoimmune Neuropsychiatric Syndrome. And basically the immune system is attacking the brain. And what happens is it's very commonly, you'll see a heightened and sudden increase in OCD, obsessive compulsive behaviors. And this very commonly manifests around their food. So kids who are in PANS episodes, or PANS flares as I call them, will sometimes, they'll have OCD about many things, but food might be one of them. So that when we work with PANS, it can help the picky eating. Providing alternative sensory activities and emotional regulation tools can help to reduce this compulsion. Pica is also, again, as I mentioned, a symptom of PANS. Now, PANS is that neuroimmune condition characterized by this sudden onset of obsessive compulsive symptoms, eating restrictions, tics, heightened emotional and fearful behaviors. And this is also usually following either an infection, inflammation, or it can even be from rapid detox. It was done too quickly and the immune system became overactive, and it actually starts attacking the brain when it's a PANS flare. So I will link to an episode that I did specifically on PANS so you can learn more about that too, because it is very important to know about. Pica is also observed in children experiencing these flare-ups of PANS, particularly when inflammation in the brain is affecting related to impulse control and appetite. So you have to remember, what we're seeing on the outside are symptoms. And what we're looking for, what I'm always about, is what is the underlying cause, right? So in many of these cases, pica appears suddenly and can be accompanied by other psychiatric symptoms. And this is suspected seeking a qualified, a PANS specialist working with PANS, and it involves really working with these underlying causes. This is so important to remember, that these underlying causes are the key. Cryptopyluria, KPU, as it's called. The symptoms are similar to PANS, such as heightened OCD and accelerated anxiety. And to learn more about PANS and KPU, I'm going to link to my episode number 90 that I did in the show notes for you, because there's quite a bit to know about it. And PANS and KPU can look very similar. There actually is a urine test that you can do specifically for KPU, and can be commonly linked to extremely low mineral deficiencies. So I'll link to that in the show notes for you. And today's show notes will be at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/219. This is episode number 219. Next, we talk about gut health and parasites. So the hidden hunger. So the gut-brain connection plays a huge role in behavior and appetite. Poor gut health can contribute to nutrient deficiencies, inflammation, and even behavior like pica. And knowing that parasites and pathogenic bacteria, or these organisms like Giardia, pinworms, or Candida, can consume nutrients before the body absorbs them, leading to chronic hunger or cravings. Basically, these parasites and these pathogens are eating the nutrition from the food that we and your child is eating, and so it leaves the body with nothing, the junk, the leftovers, the carbs, and then nothing non-nutritive. And so as we are innately hungry, or your child's hungry, they're looking for any source of food. You might think they're eating all the time. That's when you really want to look into nutrient absorption and especially parasite issues. Leaky gut syndrome is this comprised of intestinal barrier, which a compromised intestinal barrier allows food particles and toxins to enter the bloodstream. This is triggering immune reactions and nutrient malabsorption again. Gut dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in gut flora, which is the microbiome, can affect digestion and brain chemistry, including serotonin and dopamine. And these are neurotransmitters or brain messengers that have to do with mood, sleep, appetite, and our ability to focus. Yes, these are all built in the gut, and they directly affect the brain and are a symptom. So what we do is we work with the gut. We help the neurotransmitters to be able to work and be built more efficiently and get to the brain. So we also want to work to restore the gut through diet and clearing these pathogens and co-infections, as well as detoxifying. All of these things that we do are affecting the gut. And I can walk you through this in a webinar that I've got for you at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/free workshop. And I'll link to it in the show notes. But it's important for you to understand that we want to work with all of these underlying causes, right? We're not just trying to stop a child from eating something. We want to know why it's being caused. We want to know what we can do to help them. And these underlying pathogens, co-infections, diet, gut healing, and detoxifying, and even in heavy metals, are all disturbing and destroying the gut lining, weakening it and causing more malabsorption. So we can work with all of this safely and naturally. If you listen to my webinar, I walk you through those 4 stages and what we can do about it and how I can help you through it, because I know that you might be hearing all of this and thinking, what am I supposed to do? I always am about giving you solutions for everything. So rest assured, in that webinar and in the show notes, you'll have more information on these things that I'm sharing with you. So what can parents and caregivers do? If your child with autism is engaging in pica, it's important not to dismiss it as just a phase. So here are some steps that you can take. You want to rule out nutritional deficiencies, and there are some various testings you can do, and even some urine testing that's simple that you can do to test for things like magnesium, calcium, zinc, copper, things like that. See what your child has deficiencies in. I always say that things like parasite testing and Lyme testing and other things that we do are very inaccurate. So you have to know that if those are an expense, and if you put your money out for those tests and they come back negative, you can't always know that is the accurate answer, because parasites, Lyme, certain pathogens are very difficult to see in most testing. So I always say to look for symptoms, and I'm going to link to a show episode that I did for you on parasites specifically as well. But some of the things that you want to look for in the symptoms of parasites, and listen closely because these are not usually what you think. The first one and the most common is chronic constipation. So if your child has a lot of constipation issues, it's very possible that they have a parasitic infection, and it's very, very common in children with autism. They can also have really itchy skin, and then they have anger and really crazy type behaviors. It's like kind of wildish, crazy anger. brain fog and chronic fatigue, sinus issues, diarrhea, mouthing and nail biting is very common, drooling, hair pulling, and teeth grinding are all big symptoms of parasites. You want to look into PANS and PANDAS. If pica began suddenly or is accompanied by these behavioral changes, then you want to look into PANS. What also, you want to work with an expert who has a tailored plan to restore these nutrients and gut balance, and I can help you with this again. We are not only going to work with being able to clean your child's gut up with the proper diet, but we also need some supplements and some things that are going to help and that really work, because I've been through this for 19 years now, and what I did to recover my own son, even after I was told it couldn't happen. It was really about working with all of these underlying causes, but finding the right natural things that actually work, because so many things out there don't, and I know how frustrating that is, and that's why I'm here for you, to help you on this journey and get the best results that you can for your child. So you also want to balance sensory processing disorders, very, very common. You know, this is a big one with kids, and I'm going to link to a show episode I did with a sensory processing disorder expert, and I even have a great PDF guide on that page that will also give you some at-home, fun, safe things that you can do. And in fact, I'll just give you the link really quick here, naturallyrecoveringautism.com/fun. There is a list of things that you can do at home, and as you know, summer approaches and holidays approach, and your kids are home more and you're looking for activities to help calm them and physically to do with them, there's some nice little guidelines and things in there for you, and actually resources and links for you to be able to have some things they can do at home with some fun that will also be soothing and calming. If your child has pica, you want to make sure that you safety-proof your home. So until the root causes are addressed, you want to reduce the access to these dangerous non-food items. And even if your child's 5 or 10 or 15, whatever it is, if they're starting this behavior again, you kind of need to treat the house like you have a toddler. Be careful of very small items, especially ones that they could put in their mouth and choke on. So be aware of that. Pica in children with autism is really much more than a behavioral issue, and it's often a signal from the body that something deeper is out of balance. And whether it's nutritional deficiencies, emotional distress, gut issues, or neurological inflammation, understanding the root cause can help you find the path to healing and safety for your child. If your child's exhibiting signs of pica, seek support early. A holistic, multidisciplinary type of approach is often the most effective route to resolution. And again, I can help you with all of these things. And the show notes that I will be linking for everything that I mentioned here today will be at naturallyrecoveringautism.com/219. And hopefully this has been helpful for you. We want to provide health resources, solutions, and definitely safety, because this is a big issue for kids with autism. And, we got to be aware of that choking hazard as well. But we want to get them better. We want our kids to be happy. We want them to be healthy. And they deserve the chance to live life to their full potential, and that is why I'm here. My free webinar that I link to in the show notes for you will guide you through my 4-stage process and how I can help walk you through that if it's something that you're needing help with, or you have a friend or a loved one who does, because many people do. The new number from the CDC just came out. 1 in 31 kids now is diagnosed with autism, and we know solutions, and I'm here to help share them and help you to get your child better. I thank you for being here, for what you're doing for your child, appreciating it always, because I think you're a wonderful parent for taking the time to seek out these resources and to implement them. So thanks for being here. Take care, and I'll see you soon.